Misty's heart. At the gala, my fiancé's assistant came flying out of nowhere and flung my cashmere wrap to the floor. Why should Mr. Vance carry your stuff? Don't you have hands? Apologize to him. The girl bared her teeth, recklessly cute. Everyone around froze. My fiancé tried to coax me, the kid's just standing up for me, don't be mad. There really was no need to be angry. I picked up the wrap, smile perfect, $16,000 wrap, card or cash, 1. Her face strained. What do you mean 16,000? Are you extorting me? Loro piena baby alpaca. I paused and offered, if you've never heard of it, fetch someone who has. Tears welled up in her eyes, as if I'd slapped her. A crease formed between Julian's brows. He suggested we talk outside. It was my birthday, yet I felt anything but festive. Standing by the floor-to-ceiling window, the girl apologized, I'm sorry. If I'd known it cost 16 grand I'd never have tossed it. She bit her lip, then tried again, but you really shouldn't make people carry things for you. Oh. I turned to my assistant and told her to find a POS machine. The girl's eyes went wide. She forgot to keep up her youthful bravado. She snatched the wrap, shook it open, and yelled, there's nothing wrong with it, you can still wear it. Why should I pay? Because you touched it, and I don't like it anymore. The moment the words left my mouth, Julian frowned. Misty, that's enough. He stopped me. The girl instantly grew braver. Her gaze at me turned stubborn. Of course the wrap wasn't damaged, but on your birthday, being slapped by a stranger? No one would enjoy that. I locked eyes with Julian. My invitation never left the inner circle, so how did this wide-eyed ingenue get in? Silence. Julian pinched the bridge of his nose. Misty, this one's on me. Before he could finish, the girl's eyes reddened. It's not his fault. I insisted on tagging along. Don't blame Mr. Vance. I narrowed my eyes. Miss, you do know Julian and I are engaged? 2. Her face flushed. She straightened her spine and argued with all she had. Even if you're engaged, it's supposed to be equal. You shouldn't make Mr. Vance run errands. Fair. She had backbone. I glanced at my assistant. Check the security footage, tally what she ate and drank, bill her accordingly. My assistant nodded and left. The girl froze, all bravado gone. She looked helplessly at Julian. Mr. Vance. When the bill returned she could barely stand. How? I only nibbled, 18,000. She couldn't finish. I reminded her kindly, 178,000, including the wrap you flung. Her face turned paper white. She stopped championing justice for others. I motioned for my assistant to hand her the bill. Aren't you the girl with principles? Equal footing means you don't freeload. She was terrified. She didn't move, didn't take the bill. Julian plucked it with 2 fingers, glanced, tore it into 4. I'll pay for her. The girl's eyes lit up. Julian slipped an arm around me, half amused. She's fresh out of college, Misty, why stoop to her level? In the glass I caught his reflection. He flicked a discreet gesture. She bit her lip and scampered off. I looked at him. It's my birthday, you're paying double. 356,000, now. He blinked. Chuckling, he tapped his banking app. 520,000 landed in my account. Consider the extra an apology. Before we returned to the hall I shot him a look. You ruined my day. 3. Julian and I weren't a pure business alliance. We grew up together, childhood sweethearts. The moment my parents hinted at a strategic marriage, Julian booked an overnight flight from overseas and rang our doorbell. Uncle, Aunt, I'm in for the marriage. My parents hesitated. A merger is a merger. After the wedding you act affectionate when needed, then live separate lives. But if real feelings were involved, to prove his sincerity, Julian produced a portfolio of his current assets. Half of this can be transferred to Misty today. Additionally, the Sterling family may buy into the Y Country venture. My parents went quiet. That venture promised 10-digit profit, letting us buy and guaranteed us 9-digit gains. A gesture like that would close any deal. I closed the folder. I'll marry you, but if you fall for someone else, my freedom stays intact. Deal? He caught my hand on the coffee table, eyes burning. Misty, I swear that day will never come. 4. The morning after my birthday, Julian summoned me to his office. An exquisitely wrapped gift box awaited. Misty, for you. Inside lay a Colombo wrap, flax-colored, fringed. He rested his hand over mine. Sorry, the girl I brought yesterday ruined your mood. I thought exposing a rookie to high society would be fun, didn't expect her to cause chaos. I wanted to coax you last night, but I was afraid you'd punish me while you were mad. His voice trembled. Misty, I'll never do it again. I said nothing. A knock sounded. The reckless girl from yesterday entered with coffee, head bowed, respectful. I noticed her badge. In turn, Brier. Mr. Vance, Cameron, coffee. Her voice was nasal. As she handed it to me, she stumbled. Half the cup splashed into the box. She panicked. Cameron. I didn't mean it. I stayed seated. Julian shot to his feet. Can't even carry coffee, then don't work here. Brier shrank into her shoulders under the scolding. Tears pattered onto the carpet. I saw Julian's body stiffen for a fraction of a second. In the office the air congealed. He rubbed the bridge of his nose. With an impatient wave, utterly useless, get out. The girl's face flamed scarlet. She turned and drifted out, soul scooped hollow. I lifted my gaze. If she's so useless, why keep her by your side? In that instant, the other two people froze on the spot. 5. Julian's Adam's apple slid slowly. The girl pulled open the door. Her exit looked mortally humiliated. The door clicked shut. Julian looked at me, spine straightening in silence. Misty, she's different. She was my junior when I studied abroad, perfect major match. My mentor asked me to look after her for a while. In the space of one sentence, Julian served up 3 separate excuses, every one a confession of guilt. My eyes dropped to the cashmere wrap. The flax-colored wool had soaked up a deep brown liquid. It looked filthy. I picked up my bag and stood. Julian lunged after me. Misty, where are you going? I didn't turn. In that case, take good care of her. I've always been gracious about helping people get what they want. Brier stood at the assistant's desk outside. When I stepped out, our eyes locked. Her rims were still red. She stared at me with stubborn defiance, though I couldn't tell which particular grievance she meant to protest. I moved 2 steps closer. Have you overdosed on wide-eyed ingenue climbs the ladder fantasies? Or do you still not understand, real old money elite have no spare minute for you? Her face twisted instantly. She wanted to retort but something held her back. I was already walking away. I rode the elevator down, called someone else. Tonight, come to me. A pause on the line, then excited breaths. Queen, you finally summoned me. Wait, I'll go scrub myself clean right now. 6. The former campus heartthrob had graduated. Chase knew exactly what vibe I liked. Queen rolled off his tongue, his eyes a little resentful as he held me. I've waited for you, Queen. I've never touched anyone else. Of course I keep tabs on his movements. If another woman had laid a finger on him, I wouldn't have called. I wired him 200 grand, his grin exploded. Queen, feel my abs, I didn't waste the time waiting for you. We'd been together since college. He was 2 years below me. Later I got engaged. To show sincerity toward the 9-figure deal I cut contact with Chase, but when I left, he asked with wet eyes, so Queen is going to stay celibate for another man? I thought for 2 seconds. No, just for a while. His mournful face lit up. If he'd had a tail, it would have wagged like a propeller. Queen, I'll take my vitamins on schedule and wait. After a year's silence, he was frantic to make it up to me. Queen, 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 I heard it all night. I understood. Chase had waited so long he'd become hypersensitive. Next afternoon, rubbing my lower back, I wired him another 300 grand. Keep hitting the gym. 50 grand a month for 2 more years, still on the table. Chase looked wounded, but he's always known my rule. The day he turns 25, I'm done. He tightened his arms, buried his face in my neck, voice muffled. Queen, 2 years is so short. Still I tell myself, every second with you is a miracle heaven handed me. 7. Julian's habit. After upsetting me, he shows up the next day to coax me. Every time he says, my mom's like this, when she's mad she says things she doesn't mean, but I take every word to heart. Misty, so I let you cool off first while I figure out how to make it up to you. So this time, I expected him around evening. The cleaning lady hadn't even finished when he showed up early, roses and an Hermes gift box in hand. Before he could speak, his eye caught a crumpled 0.01 in the trash. Misty, what the hell is this? Julian's face went livid. The foil still held a trace of dried fluid. He didn't need me to explain. I stirred the poached pear tonic in my cup. Calm voice, I used 001, can't you see? Misty. His breath came fast, tone the hush before thunder. Explain. I set the spoon down, stood to meet his eyes. What would you like, brand, size, or a user review? Misty, he hurled the roses, deep crimson petals and jagged stems scattered across the floor. I frowned. You're paying the cleaning fee, at last he snapped. Do you even know what you're doing? Do you know what we are? We're getting married. If you're horny, can't you come to me? Or do you need the thrill? Misty, don't you have any shred of decency? His rage was a gorgeous sight. Too bad it hit a sponge. My heel ground over the petals. Hero saves damsel, passionate knight, career success, caught in the act, Julian, addicted to soap opera cliches? He froze. Face blanched to green, green to purple. No complete sentence left. Of course he knew what I meant. Overseas, a little beauty bullied by foreigners, he swooped in to rescue. Little beauty wept gratitude. Thank yous rolled straight into bed. Too bad the hero was already engaged. The teen romance turned marital melodrama. Julian thought what happened abroad would never reach me. Unfortunately, the little beauty followed his tempo back home, devoted to her darling. No name, no status, she only wanted to stay beside him. How could Julian not be moved? He stood in front of me, fists clenched white. After we came back, Brier and I have been nothing but boss and intern. Fine. I nodded, giving him a bright smile. The guy who owned that rapper and I are just friends. 8. Nothing but whitewash. No fear of lies being exposed. I never meant to hide. Julian's assets were long ago transferred to me. Even if we break the engagement now, the sterling venture has already banked 8 figures minimum. Current score, profit guaranteed. Julian must have done the math. His body shook, features twisted in pain. You agreed to the strategic marriage just to play me? What else? Declare love. And lose everything? Julian left, hollow-eyed. That night my phone received a clip of him and Brier. He held her, looking utterly wretched. The indignant girl was cursing. Pity the distance was too great. I couldn't hear a single word. Still, I typed him a WhatsApp. A kindly warning born of experience. Pick a more private spot for your sneaking around. Otherwise someone else will film it, splash it across the financial pages, and the Sterling family will be dragged through the mud along with you. I never imagined that sentence would sting a man's pride so deeply. At the next charity gala, Julian walked in with Brier. The reckless wide-eyed ingenue had clearly been given a crash course in deportment. This time she didn't hide behind the crowd-nibbling canapes. She stayed on Julian's arm, smiling at everyone, the picture of elegance. In this room every handshake hides a blade. No one is so gauche as to ask why the fiancé isn't on his sleeve. Yet every guest who exchanged pleasantries with Julian let their gaze drift to my face, some pitying, some eager for blood sport. After the 10th pitying glance I'd had enough. Smiling brightly, I rose. Emery, are you trying to decide whether I outshine President Vance's companion? The surrounding circle fell silent. Now no one needed an excuse to stare. Emery gave a dry laugh. Not at all, not at all. Brier, biting her lower lip, clutched Julian's sleeve. Julian's expression didn't flicker. It's only a dinner. I brought a colleague from the same field. Nothing to fuss about. On the surface he was explaining Brier's presence. Anyone with ears caught the subtext. He'd left his fiancée at home because the sterling heiress might be nothing more than a porcelain figure in a ballroom packed with captains of industry. That line cut deeper than outright abuse. I had strangled every romantic fantasy about Julian long ago, yet hearing the insult from my betrothed still stung. I stood, still smiling. President Vance is right. In the modern world the incapable should step aside for the capable. The air grew thick enough to choke on. A stir rippled near the entrance. A tall, unhurried figure walked in, broad-shouldered, long-limbed, every inch a statue carved from calm. Instinctively several men half rose to greet him, but his stride was single-minded, straight to me. Misty, sorry I'm late. He called me Misty. Not Miss Sterling, not Cameron, just Misty. Julian's arm turned to stone. 9. The newcomer was my mentor, the youngest legend ever to trade in these shark-filled waters. By happy chance he was in town on due diligence trips. The second I spotted Brier I had speed-dialed him for an extraction. He didn't need to say a word, he only had to stand beside me. Round, Misty. Later someone murmured, well, the incapable stepped aside. All right. Said of a man, those words carry a universe of contempt. Julian's face became a kaleidoscope. Brier still on his arm, he shifted as if the carpet had turned to coals. 10. When the gala ended, my mentor studied me, his look unreadable. I told you back then, you don't have to marry into a merger. True. In college we were close. He'd mapped out an alternate route, skip the alliance, come work with him. More exhausting, yes, but equity earned with your own brain buys you a seat at the family table. Yet I'd been a girl drunk on daydreams. I agreed with every word he said while secretly wondering whether the devotion Julian was showing might, just might, mean he could be faithful. I swallowed the bitter bite of lemon water. Still beaming, I asked, "So is it too late to sign on with you now?" His brows drew together. After a long pause he said, "I'm planting my next flag here in Riverdale." My eyes lit up. "Can I buy a slice?" The moment the words left me I knew I sounded greedy. Everyone wants into Adrian's funds. He spends half his life saying no. Who doesn't know that trailing Adrian means dining on champagne and caviar? His fingers drummed the tablecloth. Just as I started to backpedal, he said, "I can spare you 11%. More than enough." Joy detonated inside me. That night even Chase felt the voltage. He matched my urgency move for move. And the wastebasket filled again and again. Young skin really is the best tranquilizer. It irons every crease of emotion flat. I tossed Julian to the farthest corner of the sky. Days blurred, mornings at Mentor's war room, evenings letting Chase scrub the fatigue from my pores. When I ran into Julian again, 20-odd days had passed. His gaze landed on my face. "You've lost weight." 11. Making money. You forget lunch when you're counting commas. But his imagination galloped off the rails. Pressing his lips together, he stepped closer. "I did come looking for you, twice, but you weren't home. I admit the gala was meant to punish you, yet Misty, what you did crossed the line. Stacking dollars was more interesting than bickering." I watched him soften his tone. "I heard you've been grinding." "You don't have to. Whatever happened at the gala, whatever men or women outside, we'll call it even. Cut the others loose and we start over." I finally looked at him. Flat-voiced, "The engagement clause says the moment you catch feelings, my freedom is non-negotiable." Julian's face cycled through every shade of fury. He stared until his eyes glistened. "I never cheated before you took other men, so overseas escapades don't count." I stood, voice sweet with mockery. "Don't dress your wandering in self-pity. You slept around for the thrill, moral bankruptcy. I'm different. I satisfy a bodily need, single-sided. I could have come to you, Julian, but I was afraid of catching something." His expression cracked into disapproval. "Must you be this cruel in public, always keeping score?" "True. The contract still stands. A scandal would be tiresome." I looked away. Just then, at the entrance, a girl in white straightened her spine and declared, "Let me through." The usher hesitated. "No invitation, no entry, miss." The girl's eyes reddened. She pointed into the charity auction hall. "I told you, I'm only looking for someone. Once I find him I'll leave." "Why are you being unreasonable?" The poor usher was stunned. I let out a soft laugh and flicked my gaze to Julian. "President Vance, isn't that your intern?" 12. Before the sentence dissolved, Brier slipped past the usher, lifted her skirt, and ran. She scanned the room, spotted Julian, and flew toward him. "Julian!" The great hall froze. Every head swiveled to Brier, every brow wrinkled in distaste. She didn't notice a thing. She offered her heart with both hands, smiling as she passed him the pill bottle. "Your stomach medicine, you forgot it." Julian's brows drew together. He stepped back, putting distance between them. "What are you doing here?" Brier froze at the question, glanced at me, flustered. You said your stomach hurt." "I went out of my way to buy it for you." Security hurried in. 2 guards flanked Brier. The scene turned ugly in an instant. I, of course, was the soul of consideration. I reminded the staff, "This young lady is Mr. Vance's family. Didn't you hear her call him Julian?" Julian's face went slate gray. He warned me under his breath, "Don't make this worse." Before he turned away, I saw sneers on every face around us. Because certain things, if kept private, are just flirtations. Once exposed, they become front-page scandals. Julian understood that perfectly. Whatever he muttered to Brier, she was escorted out with tears welling up. I sighed. Mr. Vance, truly cold-hearted. His seat was next to mine. He shot me a look. "Stop the sarcasm. Pick anything you like, I'll bid on it for you." I lazily pointed to the stage. "That necklace is nice." Julian raised his paddle with a smile. After 3 or 4 volleys the room fell silent. The corners of his mouth curled, until a cool voice cut in from behind, 3.5 million. Julian's smile froze. When he turned, he met Adrian's eyes. Instantly, the breathing beside me turned harsh. He swallowed his fury, and battled mentor bid for bid. Every other paddle dropped. An item worth a few million finally hammered at 12. The auctioneer invited both donor and winning bidder on stage. Julian glanced back, still smiling. Wait till I bring it back and fasten it on you. Under his gaze I rose slowly. No need for the trouble. 13. On stage, the host announced my identity, the donor, Misty. Spotlights converged on my face. At that moment, Julian's smile cracked apart, inch by inch. I took the mic, gracious. I must thank Mr. Vance for his generosity. The $12 million from this sale will be donated in full to the Cancer Research Foundation. Below, applause thundered. Julian barely held on to his composure. Misty, you and Adrian set me up. Mentor waited at the steps, steady hand under my elbow, mild smile. Mr. Vance, I merely thought Misty liked the necklace. Julian's breath came faster, the rims of his eyes reddened. You actually tricked me? I tucked a strand of hair behind my ear and smiled. Mr. Vance, I never lied. From start to finish, I only ever said the necklace was nice, praising something that came from my own vault, hardly a crime. Julian finally caught my meaning. His body shook uncontrollably. Misty, you're this cold-hearted? I lifted my chin slightly. Not as cold as you, at least the feelings you left overseas stayed overseas. 14. After that day, Julian and I tore off the last polite veneer. Brier was promoted early, vaulted to chief assistant. Bit by bit she began touching the inner circle. Some people, for Julian's sake, slipped her an extra invitation. Each time, Julian brought her along, introducing her with, she's sweet, doesn't scheme. Mutual friends repeated the line. I'd just smile, sweet and simple. Are those really compliments? Anyway, I never liked the sound of it. The next time I heard of him was at a wedding. He attended with Brier, but while watching the lawn of roses he drifted away. Misty and I were almost married. When I reached that part, I closed the video a friend had sent, told her not to forward me such things again. I was busy, day and night, until the holiday. Julian arrived at my parents' gate, arms full of gift boxes. I sat composed on the sofa, playing happy family with everyone. Suddenly Julian grabbed my hand. Looking at my parents, he said, Uncle, Aunt, Misty's and my matter should be settled. My parents' smiles vanished. All eyes shifted to me. No special reason. Yesterday the quarterly for Mentor's subsidiary, in which I held equity, posted profit, 120 million. My cut was only a portion, yet enough for my parents to see bright prospects. Unlike the Vance ventures, which had hit unexpected snags and trimmed future returns, given the current trend, whether I married or not was optional. My father lifted his teacup, blew gently, said nothing. My mother smiled and stayed silent. Julian sensed the chill, his voice tightened. Misty, I said, we marry. I heard him. He exhaled. Wedding, gown, Chinese or Western? Let's pick. I looked at him, slowly withdrew my hand. Tell your uncle and aunt to come. When everyone's here, we'll discuss ending the engagement. Julian's body went rigid. When the elder Vance arrived, disbelief still clung to Julian's face. Yes, we'd grown up together, even playing house. He'd guarded me, forbidding anyone else to be my make-believe groom. In Julian's diary, from childhood on, the line read, I will stay with Misty forever. He'd almost succeeded. Now he'd come bearing gifts, begging reconciliation. How had it reached canceling the engagement? Julian couldn't fathom it. So he yanked my arm and hauled me into the study. Why? Red-eyed, he demanded, call off the engagement? You won't marry me? Then who will you marry? Who will you ally with? Adrian? Or some nameless toy boy? Do either of them love you as honestly as I do? 15. His voice was so loud, it made my ears ring. I frowned. Who says I have to marry at all? Julian stared. Not marry? You'd invent anything to cut me loose? I didn't understand. What was so unimaginable about that? Sparks of anger flared inside me. Why must I marry? Why is marriage mandatory for women? Marry you, sacrifice my looks, my body, my time, risk my life birthing your heir? Then lose sleep over tutors, nutrition, in-laws, every tiny social debt? Julian, who gave you the right? His eyes flared a fraction. You. For a long moment he couldn't string a sentence together, until the murmur of conversation in the hall leaked through the door. Julian found his voice. If you don't marry, don't have kids, what happens to the family empire? I took a step back, put distance between us. That's no longer any of your business. Julian stood there, stunned. He stared at me, dry-mouthed. If you're upset about Brier, I'm not. I smiled and solved the puzzle for him. What I'm upset about now is you. I returned everything he had promised to transfer to me the day he proposed. Our families would remain close partners. He walked out, soul staggering. Not until night did he finally text me. Misty, I love you, but you have no heart. The boy who had grown up beside me had never, from first page to last, understood me at all. I was born into a strategic marriage household. No complete father love, no complete mother love. The only gaze I felt measured the value I could bring the family. I do have a heart. Of course I do. Only, after the final filament of hope inside it snapped, I packed it full of calculations. Let the reek of copper soak clear into my marrow. Experiments have since proven. Financial independence buys you a voice in every room. 16. That night, Chase kept trying to coax me happy, changing tactics again and again. I suddenly asked, "You're turning 25 soon, aren't you?" His movements froze. Sweat slid down the bridge of his straight nose. Queen, are you not satisfied tonight? I pushed him away, lit a cigarette. Chase studied me, voice tightening. Queen, are you bored with me? I exhaled smoke, staring at Chase's soft pink lips. For no reason I layered his image over Julian's. Chase flushed again. He and that man looked less and less alike. I watched Chase's expression grow lonelier, stood, and slipped on my pajamas. I'll wire the money later. Don't come again. He surged upright. Queen, I shut the bathroom door. When I came out, he was fully dressed. I was a little surprised. Chase had lasted by my side because, without question, he was smart enough to follow my rules to the letter. By rights he should have been gone before I stepped out, but he only stared at me, reluctance written across his face. Queen, before I leave, may I say a few words? I said nothing. He said, I realized a long time ago that I looked like him, but I thought, once the resemblance faded, I could still stay. Chase lowered his head, voice nasal. I was flattering myself. Queen. Misty, may you get exactly what you wish. He shut the door gently. I stood there, barefoot, looking out at the lights that carpeted the windows like a starry sea. I messaged my assistant. Change Chase's transfer to 4 million. The previous message had told my assistant to send 5.17. I don't want to get what I wish, and I will not be with that man again. The next time I heard about Brier was when Julian changed assistants. The little intern's eyes were red in HR, yet her spine stayed straight, refusing to beg Julian. Then, she came looking for me, but I was in a meeting. By the time I learned, Brier had waited downstairs for an hour and a half. I instructed my assistant, tell her to get lost, and tell housekeeping to mop the lobby one extra time today. When I had a free moment I ran through every reason Brier could be here, racked my brains, and arrived at one explanation. She's read too many Jihu romances, cast herself as the heroine, or the rival, who worships love. Probably thinks if she shows up in my life she'll get another chapter in some book. But life isn't fiction. Real power players don't waste breath on irrelevancies. I need to pour more energy into making money. I love money. It never betrays me, and it always backs me up. 18. Julian had no time for his reckless protege. One of his subsidiaries had blown up. It wouldn't topple the whole Vance Foundation, but it gutted him personally. There was still a young master in the Vance family, a half-brother 16 years Julian's junior. Now that Julian had mismanaged, and that kid had shown scary business talent since he was 16, Julian was frantic. You could say Julian's first decades had been frictionless. The world one endless game of house. As long as he was happy he could romance girls overseas or let private feelings spill onto the conference table. He thought he had perfect control. He forgot that everyone who climbs this high, even riding family coattails, is a shark. His fall was only a matter of time. I watched from a distance. As long as the partnership with Sterling wasn't touched, it wasn't my problem. Adrian had flown home. Only now and then did he jet back to check on the new venture. Casually, midway through small talk, he remarked, "Haven't seen the boy you kept around lately." I was silent a beat. "I'm bored, Adrian looked back at his papers. "Switch it up, then, stay fresh." He paused. Saw him a couple of times, looked a bit like me. I smiled, expression unruffled. He could never be that lucky. Mentor said nothing. At core, Adrian and I are the same species of marriage resistant. He sees every relationship as a hassle. Add feelings and you gain another chain. Adrian is an aloof god descended to earth. I lowered my head, answered a text, then stood a moment later. "Quitting time, I've got a date." Adrian rose, watching my back. The one who came for me was the newly crowned apartment from the university next door. Strong features. Rain was falling outside the tower. He held an umbrella as he walked beside me. Queen, why did you suddenly ask me to pick you up, and tell me not to drive? If he'd driven, how could I have paraded him past Adrian? I looked back, gazing at the figure I could no longer make out. This time, the man at my side looked like neither chase you. After all, love and friendship, money first. The end. Thanks for listening to today's story. If you liked the video, please like and share it with friends. We look forward to reading your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more gripping tales. See you next time.